The following stories are very dark and disturbing. They mention topics such as murder, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. If you do not want to hear stories like that, please click off. You've officially been warned. I'm a 20-year-old girl who's currently home from college for the semester. This happened a few weeks ago, and I'm still extremely shaken up. I had just re-downloaded Tinder after deleting it for the 100th time as I was bored. Being home for the semester was hard, and I thought maybe I could meet someone new. Dating apps are pretty normalized now as a way of finding someone, so I figured, why not give it a shot? I had Tinder Gold where you can see everyone who likes you, and I stumbled upon an incredibly attractive guy. He was only a few years older than me, and he was my type to a T. Dark hair, brown eyes, tall, sharp jaw, looked pretty physically fit, everything. However, his pictures looked almost AI, as if he wasn't real. Regardless, I accepted his like and we matched instantly. His name was Nick, and he was a senior in college. Surprisingly, he checked quite a few boxes, and I was really surprised how well we clicked. He admitted that he felt the same way about me. I was physically his type, and we had shared a lot of similar interests. We exchanged phone numbers, and I initially wanted to rule out whether he was a catfish or not. So I asked to FaceTime, only to be surprisingly met with a pretty defensive response. He got mad, saying he has girls always asking immediately to FaceTime. I responded that his photos did look a little fake though, so I understood why. He said that he'd be willing to FaceTime after we just talked on the phone for a little, so I hesitantly agreed. We ended up talking for a lot longer than I expected. I was once again surprised at how well we connected that I wasn't as adamant about seeing his actual face. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't rationalize how someone so right for me could actually be real. Nick and I talked for about a week and a half and grew closer pretty quickly. I'm not the type of person to entertain multiple people at once, and neither was he, so he claimed. And it was official that we were going to focus on a possible serious relationship between the two of us. Honestly, it took me a little to realize things were moving way too fast too soon. He was basically treating me as if I was already his girlfriend, and was saying some pretty intense stuff. He had sent me a long text one day saying, "I'm so damn desperate for you. I need you. I feel so sick for you. I would be devastated if I lost you. If anyone ever tried to hurt you or put their hands on you, I swear I would rip them apart. Just tear their limbs off." I remember my stomach churning at that message, taken aback at the intensity. "I'm sorry, that's definitely a bit much. I just really like you, and I should probably just take a step back." We finally made plans to meet up in person, and we're currently phone calling and texting for a majority of the days leading up to it. The night before our plans, I asked him on FaceTime. He was reluctant, as he told me he wasn't like the typical college guy. He wasn't the typical frat guy, and had what were considered pretty nerdy interests. I assumed he just meant personality, as I genuinely really liked his interests and found that it made him more attractive. He didn't look like the stereotypical nerd, as in his pictures he was a pretty fit-looking guy. He was just pretty introverted and had eventually warmed up to me. I just needed to see his face and know that I would be meeting the person I had seen in the photos. When we FaceTimed, I remember noticing immediately that he looked a lot different than his pictures. It was the same person, just almost smaller. His face was gaunt, and it was like he was almost a fraction of the man in the pictures. However, I could only see from his shoulders up, and FaceTime can distort people's faces sometimes. I decided to meet up with him the next day in a public space to give him the benefit of the doubt. Big mistake. He ended up being 2 hours late, and I was already pretty pissed off because of that. My parents had warned me not to go, but I was stupidly stubborn, holding on to some false hope that everything was going to work out. The moment I saw him, my heart nearly stopped. I was not mistaken. FaceTime hadn't been off. My heart was pounding as I realized I had been catfished. Now, Nick in his pictures wasn't overly buff, but he definitely had some muscle definition. The man before me was exactly how I saw him on FaceTime. The same gaunt face, and he was incredibly thin. He didn't look anything like the man in the photos, and my stomach was churning the more that we were talking. He had noticed I was quiet, as I was much more chatty on the phone. He had complimented me, saying I looked very pretty, that I looked like the type of girl guys would be scared of going up to. Intimidating. I smiled politely and did say thank you, but I was panicking internally. We were walking around and it was painfully quiet. He kept asking me if something was wrong, and I denied it. When the silence continued, he eventually said, "Do you just want to go home?" I didn't know what to say. I felt like he was putting me right on the spot, and I didn't have anywhere to go to. He eventually just outright said, "You're not attracted to me, are you?" I was silent. My heart was pounding and my anxiety was through the roof. What was I supposed to say? I didn't want to be rude, but I did feel like I was deceived. I'd been thinking I'd be meeting the man on his profile, and it wasn't accurate in the slightest. Just say it. Don't waste my time. I felt sick. He was getting upset. I didn't have any other choice but to be honest. "No, I'm sorry," I eventually said quietly. I'm not. I'm sorry for wasting your time." "You know what? Just have a good night," he said angrily. "Since I'm not some model, now you're not into me?" I was frozen in place, absolutely shocked. I just stood there feeling torn between throwing up or crying. The tears eventually came and my heart was pounding. His expression softened when he heard me crying, and he started to apologize profusely, but I took a step back. "I don't want to talk to you," I said, sniffling. It was like a switch flipped and he was angry again in just seconds. "Oh, so now it's my fault? It's my fault? Have a good night." He stormed off and I was crying as I rounded the corner to head to the parking lot. My hands were shaking as I tried to call my mom. I eventually got back home, a mess. I felt awful. I hadn't planned to ever speak with him again, but he called me. I didn't answer, but he just kept calling. He called me at least 5 times and ended up leaving a voicemail. His voicemail was a total 180 from before, soft-spoken and almost sweet. "Hi, I know you don't want to hear from me right now, but I just wanted to make sure you're safe, that you got home okay. I'm sorry things didn't end up how you wanted. I wish you the best. Bye." I was baffled. I felt awful for him, knowing he was a quiet, introverted guy and was probably hurting. But at the same time, I was unnerved by the fact that he had lied. Someone I thought I connected with turned out to be a completely different person. I knew it all seemed too good to be true. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was so wrong. Now, I was working as a server for the time being until I returned to school in the spring. I had told Nick I was working as a server, but not where. The morning after our breakup, I was on my way to work. I usually stop at a bagel place on my way there, and as I parked, I saw I had gotten an enormous text from Nick. "I knew this would happen. I knew you would leave. Yet you saw me on FaceTime and still wanted to go out. Yes, everyone looks different from their photos. Those photos are from when I was dating my ex and I was going to the gym. I haven't been going because I was dealing with my breakup because she left me, just like you did. I only asked you about going home because it was clear you weren't into me and just wanted the typical frat guy. All girls are always only focused on looks. I'm 100% sure you've been talking to other guys the entire time. You would have cheated on me if we started dating. I saw you texting someone on the date, tilting your phone away from me. You're a serial cheater. I'm so done with dating. I wish I never met you." I was baffled. I felt absolutely awful, but at the same time was shaken up by his message. I had genuinely liked him. He was the one who lied about his appearance from the start. I had to get to work on time and I didn't have the energy to respond. So I left the parking lot and continued to drive to work. I eventually got to work and started my shift. I was drafting a response to him during the moments I had downtime, but was going to have a friend read over it before I sent it. As I was waiting on a table, I felt my phone buzzing in my apron. I had to walk over to the side to put it in the order and went to go check who it was. It was Nick. I froze, my stomach dropping. I just let it ring, not answering. But he kept calling, over and over again. I had to decline his calls eventually. He then texted me, "Why don't you just block me already?" I was starting to get more frustrated than anything now, and I sent the drafted reply. "Nick, you literally lied to me from the start. You are presenting your appearance completely different from reality, and I literally told you I liked your personality. I didn't want you to be that frat guy. I liked that you had unique interests, but you're dishonest about how you look, and all girls only care about looks, then I guess I can say all men lie. I've been hurt a lot in the past, and I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I was wrong to let you in." Nick immediately responded, and we were arguing over text. I eventually told him that I had to get back to waiting tables and would get in trouble if I was on my phone. I kept talking with him during my dinner break, and he was saying really offhanded things. "I could look like that again. Please just give me 2 months. I'll start working out again. I can change." I felt so bad for him. I didn't want him to do all of this for me. I didn't want him to change. I just wanted to talk to the person I was talking to originally. I did tell him that he deserved to find someone who liked him for where he was at. "So now what?" he asked. "I think this is the end of things," I responded. "There are plenty of other women out there. I just don't think you and I are a match." Nick did not like that. He blew up at me, sending me multiple huge texts, insulting me, berating me. I literally gasped aloud once I saw them all pour in. He then began accusing me, saying that I was the one who didn't look like my photos, that when we FaceTimed, he actually found me unattractive but just didn't say anything. He told me I was cold and unfeeling for ending things so harshly. "You don't want me with anyone else, but you want me to leave you alone? But you know what? I looked fantastic last week. Way better than I did on our date. That's why a girl who doesn't screw on the first date ended up spending the night with me and we were up until dawn. I'm actually pretty sure you're not as innocent as you say you are, and you're actually getting run through frequently." He went on to tell me I was going to fail in my career field as I had no knowledge regarding how to succeed, then also went on to insult my religion. I'm Catholic and he's atheist, saying that I don't exemplify the qualities of a true Catholic and that he knew my religion better than I did. He repeatedly called me a serial cheater, saying I'm definitely into having multiple guys at once. I asked him why he was still bothering me and to go back to the girl he was with before. I just wanted him to leave me alone already. He just responded back with, "She had a nicer body anyways." I just blocked him. I didn't hear anything after that. No calls, no blocked voicemails. I was incredibly shaken and was noticeably on edge for the rest of my shift. I was working both the lunch shift and the dinner shift, which meant I was there until close. At night, the walk to the parking lot still creeps me out a little to this day. It's a huge lot, and there's a rule that employees have to park on the outer edges of the lot. So I would have to walk across the dark parking lot every night. With everything that happened with Nick, I was now more on edge than usual. Just as I was halfway across the lot, I realized that I had left my water bottle inside, so I turned around and walked inside to retrieve it. I ended up bumping into the receptionist who was just leaving then. She's also a college student who's around my age, and we ended up walking to our cars together. As I reached my car, I went to unlock it and to just hop inside like a routine. But that's when I saw something that made my stomach drop. At first, I didn't see it, but when the light from the street lamp hit my car, I saw 2 distinct handprints on the driver's window. My heartbeat was accelerating by the second, my heart now pounding fiercely in my chest as my mind raced. Was it Nick? Did he find my workplace? Was it just some little kid peering in? Or was it some random creep? I called out to the receptionist, feeling panicked. She got out of her car and walked over. She was silent, staring at the handprints. The parking lot was silent, and the 2 of us just stared at my driver's side window for a beat. "It could have just been a little kid," the receptionist says. "The handprints look too big to be a kid's," I replied. wishing that it could just be ruled out as some obnoxious kid leaning on my window. I felt absolutely sick to my stomach. Nausea had hit me like a truck, and my eyes were starting to water. "I'm scared," I breathed out to the receptionist. She shot me a sympathetic gaze. "I wouldn't worry just yet," she reassures me. "If it happens again, I would call security. I can stay with you to make sure your car turns on and it hasn't been tampered with." I nodded wordlessly, going to unlock my car. I pushed the start button and the engine was fully functioning. "Thank you," I said to the receptionist, feeling grateful she was helping me out. "Of course," the receptionist smiled. "Get home safe and definitely tell the security if it happens again." "I will," I told her. I pulled out of the parking lot and made it home safely, but I was still feeling incredibly uneasy about the handprints on my car. I decided to check in with security before my next shift. The security guard informed me then that they have the surveillance footage of the back parking lot and they could check the cameras. What I saw on camera made me sick to my stomach. There was a figure all in black peering inside of my car. He was pressed against the glass, just staring inside. He started to loop around the car and crouched down out of view of the camera. It was on the passenger side, and that's when I saw myself walking towards my car. My heart was pounding as I watched myself turn around to go get my water bottle inside, reaching the halfway point of the parking lot before turning back. The figure had noticed I went back and got up and disappeared into the darkness. I was petrified watching all of this back. It had to be Nick. It had to be. Harassing me all day at work on the phone, he had to have decided to ambush me in person since I blocked him. Thank God I had gone back for my water bottle. If I hadn't, who knows what would have happened instead. Back in 2018, I was a single mother. After Mike, the father of my children, passed away, I was left providing for my 79-year-old mother and my two kids, Tom and Mary. My father died when I was born, so I never knew him. I wasn't planning to find myself a boyfriend or anything like that, but my mother encouraged me to try. Fast forward to 2019, I met a man named Simon. Simon was the kind of man I could call sweet and savage at the same time. He would switch from good to bad in just seconds, and I was sure he never thought straight. One time he called me a bitch, and another time he would call me sweetheart darling. Red flag number 1. He would bring random girls into the house and claim they were his sisters. They weren't. He didn't have any sisters. He started to hit me and threaten me if I dared to talk to a man who was not him. One time my brother came over to my house during Christmas. I was really happy to see him, and I then introduced him to Simon. I wish I never had. Simon glared at my brother, grabbed my arm so hard I thought it was going to break, and then said in the scariest voice ever, "I think I warned you about not bringing other men into my house." I tried telling him that it was my brother, but he wouldn't believe me. I could see his fist clenching. Long story short, our family and friends slowly stopped showing up in my house after everyone witnessed Simon's abusive behavior. The threats then turned into physical attacks. He started throwing things like knives and plates. I would miss them by inches. He even threw me off the bed while I was sleeping. Thank God he never touched my kids. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night to find him and his gangster-looking friend in the house smoking and drinking. I couldn't stay with the kids when that happened, so I would leave them at their grandma's house to avoid Simon and his trouble. One night I came home from a night shift. I tiptoed into my room and I saw Simon in the dark with red, devilish eyes. He snarled, "Where have you been, you little bitch?" I told him about my night shift, but before I could finish, he pinned me to the wall. His breath was hot as hell. He started punching the shit out of me while saying, You little bitch! How dare you cheat on me?" I couldn't respond because he just kept hitting me until I felt the blood running down my shoulders. After what felt like an eternity, he stopped and went back to his room, locking the door. I sat on the cold floor sobbing like never before. I tried reporting him to the police, but they didn't have enough evidence. This went on for 2 years. hitting, cursing, sexual abuse, and more. My mother knew what was happening because I would drop the kids off at her house with a black eye and a missing tooth. When she asked me what happened, I could never truly hold back my tears. I constantly prayed every day to get out of that nightmare. I had to file a lawsuit against him and ended up losing custody of my own children. When I thought the worst had happened, something even worse did. One day we had an argument about who would take care of the kids if I got them back. The argument was so heated that he went to the kitchen and then threatened me with a knife. I was so scared for my life that I jumped out of the window and bolted down the street, daring to look back. I ran to a friend's house and begged if I could just stay for the night. They agreed. I started dozing on the couch. After an hour or so, there was a loud banging on the door like someone was trying to break it down. It was him, Simon. I could see blood dripping down his knuckles as if he had fought someone. When he began to scream my name, he grabbed me by my hair and pulled me with incredible strength. I kicked to get him off me, but it was useless. I screamed until after what seemed like ages, I blacked out. I woke up in the hospital with the police surrounding me. One of the officers then asked, "Ma'am, do you remember anything that happened?" My head was so heavy, so I replied back with no. The officer took a deep breath and proceeded to tell me one of the most horrific things I've ever heard. He said that my ex-boyfriend Simon was a murderer. That day, he went to my friend's house and he demanded to know where I was. Then he went to my mother's house and beat her to death until he found out where I was. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother was dead? That's what you're telling me? The police said that when he found me, he wanted to kill me and dismember my body. I was shocked. I couldn't even speak. I couldn't imagine myself dead at the hands of this psychopath. My poor mother was one of his victims. To this day, I'm still receiving therapy for the trauma, but I'm doing a little better now. I just hope Simon gets what he deserves. And to my mother who helped me all throughout life, I hope you rest in peace. This happened to me 2 years ago. My story is a bit long, so please bear with me. It will have fake initials for privacy, and it includes SA. But I wish to express my experience to give a warning to others. At the time of my story, I was with a guy for about 9 months, and for context, he was 53. I was 33 at the time and had rotten luck with men close to my age, so when he came along, I fell for him and I rolled with it. We will call him C. I worked for a housing company, and C's office was on a different floor, but we were part of the same company, and of course, relationships weren't allowed, so we started dating in secret. At first, things were great. He was sweet and he showered me with compliments, but over time, I started to feel used, controlled, and gaslit a lot of the time. He started being secretive, and you can imagine the theme with this. We couldn't do any couple things, and anything we did had to be in secluded places in the car or my place, but never his. We were like this for about 9 months when I found out by means that I can't say that C was married. I knew that he had a kid, but not a wife. We never worked together, and when we were alone, he never told me he was married, and I can honestly say I had no idea about it. I confronted him and he tried to gaslight me, but I was beyond pissed and humiliated. I ended it there, cutting all ties with them, even though I was hurt because I felt like I was starting to really fall for him, but I pushed on. I couldn't confide in anyone due to it being a secret. I was due some time off for a family vacation for 2 weeks, so I was able to forget about it as best as I could. But then not long after I came back to work, C started texting me. He would show up on my floor and by my car. He kept trying to apologize and said that he would leave his wife to be with me, and I rejected him at every turn, threatening to tell his wife everything if he didn't leave me alone. He got angry at this and he had started to text horrible things to me, but I kept threatening to tell his wife. And to prove I wasn't joking, I found out who she was and screenshotted her social media account. He finally left me alone after that. Next thing I know, it's the office Christmas party, which was on the roof of the building. I kept looking out for C, but I never saw him and carried on having a good time until I wanted to go home. It was about 11 p.m. when I got to my office floor about to call a taxi, but before I could, something that smelt of chemicals then covered my mouth. It was then that I was dragged into a dark room where I was pinned down over a desk with the full weight of whoever was behind me pressing my body down. But then my eyes began to close, and I blacked out. When I woke up, my head was throbbing, and the faint hum of music was still playing from the party 5 floors up from me. I looked around, and I realized I was in the same office, and there leaning on one of the desks was C looking down at me. I went to scream, but my mouth was covered with duct tape, and there were handcuffs on my wrists that were strapped around the heavy desk metal leg. C leaned off the table and knelt over me.
"You shouldn't have threatened me,"
he said before grabbing my body and turning me so I was facing the floor. I tried to move and scream through my taped mouth, but to no avail.
"When I'm done with you, you won't say crap,"
he growled. Then I heard the unzipping of his pants. I'm going to go ahead and skip all the graphic details, but I think you all know what he did to me. My eyes burned with hot tears and the pain was intense. Eventually, after it was done, C then grabbed my hair, making me face him.
"You say anything about this and I'll kill you,"
he said, slapping me before ripping the tape off, and then the next thing I know, the chemical-covered cloth was pressed to my face yet again. When I woke up, my hands were free and I was in so much pain I could hardly move. My bag was on the floor next to me and the music had stopped. I looked at my watch and I saw it was 1 a.m. I pushed through the searing pain and got up struggling to walk, but I managed to get to the door and get out of that room. I clutched my phone trying to focus my mind on dialing the police when I heard footsteps coming from down the corridor. And when I looked up, it was one of the night cleaners from my floor who knew me, and she then came running holding me up. She called the police who arrived, and despite C's threat, I told them everything and he was arrested. I was completely checked out at this point, and my physical wounds started to heal, and of course the whole thing was known all around the building. I was signed off for about 8 weeks, but I wanted to hand in my notice, which I did. I haven't seen any of my coworkers since the Christmas party. C was charged, his wife left him, and he's now in jail. To those out there who are ever in a situation like that, to which I really hope you never are, don't feel threatened. Don't let yourself be gaslit or manipulated. There's no reason for anyone to be treated and assaulted like that. Please be careful out there. My name is Leon and I'm a 24-year-old gay man. I've been wanting to lose my V card and all that, and I was desperate. I got onto the gay dating app called Grindr. After setting up my profile, I got to hitting up any guys online. I was tapped by a guy whose name was something along the lines of now available. The guy's profile pic was of an attractive man with a lean build, blue eyes, pale skin, and brown hair and beard. He said he was offering massages for hire, including more NSFW services. I decided to hire him and send him some money for the services to book him. I was excited about the idea of getting a massage and, well, other stuff. We agreed that the massage will be about a week from when I met him. As the day was approaching fast, I grew more excited and nervous. Now Available would be sending hot images of himself throughout the days leading up to the massage. Then 2 nights before the massage, he had texted me saying that he needed more money to pay for gas and asked if I could send him an extra $50. I was confused how he couldn't afford it after paying him with the initial money, and I told him I can't. He got upset and he actually tried to guilt trip me into sending more money. I tried to compromise and tell him that I'll send it after the massage if he really needs it. He ignored all of my messages, just saying, "Send it now." I was getting nervous why he started acting like this. I know, guys, I'm a moron for doing this. And I sent the money. I was starting to have doubts on this and looked at all of the photos he sent. He was really attractive, too attractive. I then, on a complete whim, decided to put one of the pictures on a reverse image search, and I got a bunch of hits. It was an OnlyFans model from Brazil. My stomach knotted up and I felt sick to my stomach. I just got scammed. I then immediately blocked him on Grindr and on PayPal. I'm currently trying to get this resolved, but I honestly doubt I'll get my money back. I'm an idiot. Let this be a lesson to those who are desperate, and don't be me. Hi everyone, I hope you all enjoyed today's stories. For those who didn't already know, I do have a podcast called Southern Cannibal Scary Stories on Spotify. On Spotify, you can actually watch the same videos that you can watch on YouTube. Be sure to check it out. All that being said, have a great day everyone, and see you next time.